promise I won't cheat you. This moment lasts forever. Let's give our love a redo. Let's play pretend, babe. I promise I won't cheat you. This moment lasts forever. Let's give our love a redo. In the valley, yeah. Chasing thoughts I can't recall. Classifying just what I need. All I have's on my shoulders.
All right, how are you guys doing? Thank you guys for tuning in today. This is Mentality DPT Talk number 19, and today's going to be a very special interview. It's with my former schoolmate, Wilson, and Wilson is attending the University of St. Augustine. But, without further ado, I'm going to just let him tell you a little bit about himself, where he goes to school. I already said it, and what year he's in, and what field of physical therapy he's interested in. All right.
All right. Well, first thing I want to say, thank you, Picaria, for letting me come onto your channel. I really appreciate the opportunity to just speak to an audience.
Yes, sir.
So as Picaria said, that I'm University of St. Augustine DPT student. I'm currently in my second year. I just started. I'm in the 4th term out of the 8 terms that we have. And yeah, so one part of physical therapy that I'm very interested in going into is inpatient acute care.
Oh.
Specifically, because I've shadowed and I worked in a lot of inpatients as a tech, and I've also, again, I shadowed and volunteered in that setting a lot. And personally, I can find myself working in that type of setting every single day, as opposed to like an outpatient setting, a skilled nursing setting, or any other type of settings that PT has to offer.
And that's good, man. So St. Augustine. So tell us a little bit about the journey. When we were at St. Augustine, we got hit because St. Augustine is an accelerated program, but you can tell them a little bit more about that. Was it more than what you expected? You're coming from college, you, me, Alex, everybody was just really, I don't know what everybody was expecting, but when you got to PT school, is it what you thought it was going to be?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's 100% not. Especially the fact that, with COVID going on at the time, no vaccines or anything, we were forced to be virtual. And honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to go because I got into PT school. Like I wasn't going to wait anymore, right? And touching like on the accelerated aspect of the program, like, yeah, I saw that, okay, this is going to be an accelerated 2.8 year accelerated program. And I didn't honestly think too much of it until like we reached that first term, and like seeing them pile on assignments after assignments after assignments, test practicals, whatever, just like hit me really hard, because I'm not used to that type of workload in undergrad. In fact, undergrad was honestly nothing like grad school is right now, and it's definitely been a huge adjustment. And honestly, I think it took me more than like 2 terms and a half to really get into the groove of things for grad school, the grad school level that they expect of you.
Right. So, Wilson, tell us a little bit about what got you inspired to go into physical therapy, because I know you said your brother is a physical therapist, right?
Yep, he's currently a practicing physical therapist in home health physical therapy.
Okay.
So he obviously he partly inspired me to go into the field of physical therapy, like way back when we had the discussions like, oh, Wilson, what are you going to do in the future? I was like, when you go to college and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, you can go into business, you can go into healthcare. And like at the time, I didn't even know what physical therapy was. I didn't really want to know what I wanted to do. So I actually just tried it out. So like freshman year of college, I cold called a bunch of clinics and asking, hey, are you guys hiring aides? Do you offer any shadowing or volunteering? And lo and behold, one of the first places I called is like, yeah, we need aides. And we said that you have some experience with exercise. Do you want to start working? And I was like, okay. So like my very first semester of college, I already was starting to work as a PT aide in like an outpatient ortho clinic. So that's how I got like that was like my entry into the field, and from there I built upon that with more aid experience and shadowing as the years went on.
Okay. So between the outpatient clinic and inpatient, I had tried to get both because I wanted my shadowing experience to look, somewhat diversified. But what is the biggest
Mm-hmm.
difference that you would say? Because I know for me, when I shadowed an inpatient, I was like, man, this is not something I want to do. It's just not my personality. It's working with speech pathologists, OT, doctor, this, and then everybody's this, and then you're meeting this all these times. For me, I was just like, man, this is a very involved setting, and it seemed a little bit more fast paced, because these patients are coming out
Yeah.
and they've had usually some type of stroke or something that happened within the last, couple weeks. So what gravitated you towards more inpatient, and what was the biggest difference you saw? Because you said you were an aide at the outpatient orthopedic.
Yeah, of course. And so, like you said, like working in that fast-paced environment, working with doctors, nurses, OTs, what's it called, speech
Mm-hmm.
pathologists, and social workers.
Yep.
I feel like inpatient rehabilitation really like emphasizes the team aspects of healthcare more so than outpatient. Because outpatient, yeah, you're also working in a team. You work with other therapists, like physical therapists or occupational therapists, whoever's working at the clinic, and you're like your rehabilitation aides. So I kind of like the team aspect of it. It's like, okay, so not everything is dependent on you. We're going to work together to help deliver better healthcare outcomes for the patients that are like, that just became like medically stable, that just got surgery or have some sort of impairment that's preventing them from independently living on their own. So like I feel like physical therapists really shine in that type of setting where patients are in a state where they need these like functional mobility interventions. They need to be able to move. And like I feel like our field always preaches motion is lotion.
Mm.
We always have to be able to move the patient. We always have to be able to just be that one-on-one type of help. And compared to outpatient, we do more of the same. But I feel like that's more slower paced in my
It
opinion.
is, yeah.
Obviously, everybody
Yep.
has different experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's more slower paced, and I think it's even sometimes more complex in outpatient because you don't. Some of these patients come in with conditions that they've been having for like the past 20, 25 years, and like how do you even begin to like address
Mm.
that. And then another thing I like to touch on is that inpatient, you have so much variety. You're not just stuck on a general nursing floor. You're not just stuck in one office building. You're going to go into like 4 or 5 different floors. You're going to go into ICU. You're going to go into telemetry. You're going to go into the post-surgical units. And there's even the place I worked at had a hospital outpatient too. So really, you're not missing out on that experience because you just rotate around all different sections. And I love that variety. It just keeps me on my toes, and it gives me something to think about every single day. So, which is why I'm like really pointed toward that setting specifically. I'm really excited to do like clinical rotations in it in the future.
Gotcha. Gotcha, man. That sounds good. So let me ask you this, right? Now, of course, we all know that there is an adjustment phase with PT school. But with this
Mm-hmm.
channel, outside of just pure, physical therapy, I do want to push like mentality and not just mentality, like what people need to do to kind of change and to get themselves closer to the life they want, basically. I know it was
Right.
a very harsh transition. Tell me what are some of the things that you learned about yourself during that process, especially when we were there first semester. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of that evolution. How did that change you? What did you learn about yourself that made you, if you want to say, a little bit better or worse, or
Yeah. Yeah, that's a loaded question because there's a lot of things that's happened since then. I feel like I said, the transition was very, very rough. And I have to be honest, like this was the first time I ever moved out from my parents' house because undergrad, all I did was commute to school and I still lived with my parents. So that was like what, 23 years about.
Mm,
So this is the first time, one, that I moved outside of the house, two, moving out of state, and three, living on my own with a roommate. I never had roommates before
okay,
either. So those three combinations, and being about what, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm like 10, 12 states away, currently in Florida, only having like a phone call away from my parents, from my brother, from my like sister-in-law, cousins or whatever, my friends, like that was an adjustment because like I felt isolated. I hadn't have any friends here. I didn't talk with anyone, and also partly because COVID, like I didn't want to go meet anyone, and we never saw our class like ever.
Yeah.
So that kind of like just made me like in my own shell, especially first term. I just did my own thing. I studied by myself, or I didn't go out at all because I was one scared, and two I just didn't know. I didn't know how to do anything. So like that, especially like the first 3 months of PT school, living on my own, just like adjusting to the demands of school, adjusting to just living on my own, having to buy my own groceries, having to clean up after myself, like all that stuff. Like it was all a learning process as it went on. So
Right. Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Cause I was similar when I started PT school. You know, I lived in Huntsville all my life. Went to school 7 minutes away from campus, or my house was 7 minutes
Mm,
away. My parents' house was 7 minutes away from campus, and you know, when I went to Hampton for the first PT school, I was like, man, you know, you got to worry about paying this. You got to worry about groceries now, cooking for
right.
yourself. You know, you're still trying to keep yourself up in terms of health wise as a physical therapist. And then you got to get your studies done. You're in an accelerated program. You don't know anybody,
Hmm.
like you said, because, you know, it would be nice to choose where you get in, but PT school is very competitive. So you might be in an area where you
Yep.
don't have family anywhere. You know, my closest family,
Hmm.
thank God we did an ancestry DNA, and I had a cousin in Richmond, which is about an hour from me. So I understand what you were saying with that. Tell me, and I like to play this, right? This is a little thing I like to say L, and you can take this L, and when I say L, it could be a loss or it could be a lesson, right? What is one of the biggest L's, right, so to speak, that you've taken from this experience?
Biggest L's I've taken from this experience was probably just being too comfortable with myself and just not being able to let go of like my past, of just being at home all the time, just being in that environment. So I think that especially that first couple months, like I just stay too isolated,
Mm-hmm.
like I said.
Yeah.
And I think that I consider that an L, and honestly I've been working on that since then, and I've seen nothing but great results from it.
Right. Right. Yeah, putting yourself out there more. Tell me how that was, because I know
Yeah.
you know we used to study. You used to come over the crib with Alex, and you know we used to come over your
Yeah.
spot as well. You know you and Jerome, but you know outside of that, you know I left after the first semester and came here to Andrews. But how
Hmm.
was what did you? Because it's so funny. I saw like because Alex we would talk sometimes and stuff like that, and he was like, "Yeah, Wilson is
Hmm.
getting out there. He's is it just a conscious decision you made in your head? You're just like, listen, man, I'm going all in. I'm just gonna put myself out there. Did you read a book? Did you or did it just become like, man, I really don't like the situation and being isolated? You know, is it that I guess discomfort that propelled you to just make that change, or was it something that you felt like you kind of had to gradually do? Because I'm not gonna lie, man, I kind of experiencing a little bit of the same thing. You know, being here in Michigan and where my school is, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You know, so what was something you
Hmm.
did to just kind of get yourself to just make that jump, and really just put yourself out there?
So I'm gonna follow it with this. So we went after you left first term, we went into second
Hmm.
term, and all you heard was horror stories about that. And honestly, I think it got a lot worse before I had that shift during
Mm,
that second term
okay.
summer, because I was on the verge of failing three
Ooh.
classes. I was calling my brother literally every single night, like, "Yo, I want to drop out of PT school. This is just not happening. Like, I don't want to do this anymore." And he was like, you're all in on this already. You drop out now. What are you gonna do when you get back? You're just gonna go home and do nothing. And he was just like, I'm about to fly down there and like kick your ass. And
Dang.
after he said that, I realized is like, I spent this much money in tuition already. I spent all this time trying to get down here. I spent so much time trying to get into PT school. Why am I saying I'm gonna quit now? Like why like if I quit, is that gonna make me feel better immediately? Just that like instant gratification? Or is that gonna make me feel like I'm just running away from a problem?
Mm,
So like, after that, type of conversation had to happen. I buckled down and, you know, I passed the term, I passed everything, thank God. And then once we, as time progressed, third term, once the fall started, we went in campus much more. So we were with our class. We weren't like split apart. I think that was like the biggest shift, seeing all my classmates every single day, talking with people that I've never talked to for the past 2 terms, just like reaching out to people. It's like, hey, do you want to study sometime? Hey, do you want to hang out sometime? Some stuff like that. And like, you know, as the months wore on, I just got better and better at it. And now like as currently, like I can talk with literally anyone comfortably. Like I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to participate in class anymore. I'm just like I'm in the groove of what like grad school is. I'm used to the demands of it, and I know what I have to do. I know why I'm here. I'm here to get my DPT degree, and the people that are going to be close with me are the people I talk to every day, people I text, people I call, people I hang out with, and then everybody else is just along for the ride. That's how I put my mentality forward. And something else I didn't mention was that I watched a lot of motivational
Mm,
videos. I went on YouTube. I just searched up motivational videos. I must have watched like almost 100 of them. Like every day, I watch a different video,
that's good,
and that
man.
that stuff really helps. Like people think that that stuff is kind of stupid, but honestly, just having to hear it from like a third party just made it a lot better for me personally, not having to talk to people I already know, but like other people who are struggling, not necessarily with PT school or grad school in general, just like things in life. And I was like, wow, like really, it's not that bad. You just got to push through. And like, if so many people have done this in the past, why can't I do it? You know?
Right. And it's amazing how, like you said, so have you, well, before I say that, have you heard of a guy, Eric Thomas?
I think I
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
I
He's
think I have.
one of my favorites. So it's interesting because some people, hey, it's not for everybody, but it
Mhm.
is interesting how just someone saying something can just shift your perspective. Like I know even for me, this second term, this transition for second term has always been hard for me. And I'm in the second term right
Mhm.
now. It's snow pretty much everywhere. I'm not used to this environment, but it's interesting how sometimes you can get into your own head so much. And I had a roommate, Alex.
Yeah.
We were roommate. I don't have a roommate here, right? So I'm going
Mhm.
home, and that isolation can definitely get you to start thinking certain thoughts that are not as productive. But sometimes, like you said, just having that outside voice, listening to motivational video, it's just a perspective shift. So let me ask you, how, when you started making that transition and you kind of started putting yourself out there, how much easier did that make the process of school for you? Because I'm sure you had some benefits in that area.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I remember one of the things you always said was don't be on your own island. Make sure you make those connections. And when I started talking to a lot more people, especially my classmates, I got plenty of connections that may help with like resources that I even like know about. Things that people like, oh hey, like I saw this, or hey, I made this study guide or whatever. And like just like taking all those things and just making it with my own, and just having those type of connections, having those type of contacts, I felt like was already like super beneficial,
Right.
even though I didn't know the person too well. Just like, hey, like, oh, like what do you have for this class, or like, oh, I have this. Like it's just like a mutual like beneficial relationship, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just I think those are some of the benefits, and just the fact that I get to talk to people most of like almost every day. It's just nice, instead of just being at home all the time and just looking at my computer screen. Just having that interaction every single day, especially being on campus all the time, like makes me really feel like I'm in grad school and not like in COVID world right now, just going virtual online, listening to a professor.
Right. Right. No, for sure. So there's someone watching this video potentially, or someone's gonna come across this video who is, struggling. It might not be in PT school. It might be because this is physical therapy, and there's definitely
Yeah.
people that are going to be watching this that are physical therapy students. But there's some people who just general. They might just be struggling in general life. But I do believe that there's certain principles, whether you're struggling with an addiction or whether you're struggling with get through school. There's certain principles that are applicable for everything. Tell me
Yeah.
maybe two, three characteristics, right, that you believe with your process that you've gone through right now, right, that you believe have been, whether you had them at the beginning or not, right? That you believe have been most beneficial. And I think you've made hints to some of these, but tell me some of those characteristics that you believe, if someone is going through a difficult situation, they're coming from undergrad, and they're transitioning to PT school, they're getting knocked all around. What is some advice you would give? What are some
advice,
characteristics, that you would say that you need this in order to get through this type of process?
Definitely. One of the biggest pieces of advice I would personally give coming from myself is don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
You're your own person. And yes, there are people that are going to be smarter than you. There are people that are going to be working harder than you. There are people that are going to get straight A's and you don't even know how or why. But like looking at that, don't compare yourself, because you're not that person. Like, I am not Bakari Thomas. I'm Wilson Shek.
Right.
Or you're not Wilson Shek. You're Bakari Thomas.
Right.
So like, you don't want to put yourself into that, getting into your head like, oh, this guy's better than me. I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, why are they so much smarter than me? Like, I just feel so inadequate. Like, you have to have like a strong mental fortitude. You have to be able to take the hits and just be able to move. And even if people are doing better, reach out to them. Like, or even if they don't want to reach out to you, figure out your own type of system. Because again, there's no one perfect way to do grad school. There's no perfect way to life. You have to be able to figure out what works for you and how you efficiently use that going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
I 100% agree, man. Yeah. Okay.
And then,
sorry, did you have another one?
Yeah. I think especially if you're gonna go into education like this, you need to have a strong work ethic. You cannot slack off. You cannot be lazy. Like, this is serious. Like this degree alone, like it costs $40,000 a year. Like, that's no joke. So like, you have to be able, like, for me, I treat this like a full-time job. I wake up 6 a.m., get ready, go to school when it opens at 7. And some days, not all days, which is ridiculous, I would probably leave like 10 o'clock at night, just studying or doing work or whatever, doing practice. Like, and that's not necessarily everybody has to do it like that. But for me, I don't get information within like 10, 20 minutes or just looking at a VOPP once. I get information by doing repetition, and just going over it until it makes sense to me. And that requires a lot of time on my end. And I feel like sometimes people that are not like that people that get it immediately just don't really understand that sometimes. And like, putting in work is different. It's a different definition for everyone. So like, I feel like that you have to be able to have a strong work ethic, whether you like it or not. Because if you come into school being lazy or just not being able to do too much, or like, oh, I'm gonna study for just like 2 hours and I'll just take a break for the rest of the day. Like, no, that's not enough. Like, you have to be able to be on top of everything. And I feel like just taking that type of ethic goes for school, goes for work, and goes for life too. Be having that strong work ethic.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree, man. Yo, so Wilson, before you go out of here, right? Before we get you out of here, because I know you got stuff to study for, and that's one thing about the job. Even though on Fridays you get off early, still, I'm sure you have to put in a little bit of work. I know I do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But what are some of just your last thoughts? Anybody you might want to say thank you to, and or just any last thoughts you have in general? Because I'm gonna, of course, share this on your Facebook, and your family will get to see it and stuff like that. But any last thoughts that you just really want to say before we let you run?
Just thankful for all my family, thankful for my friends back home, and thankful for all the friends I made here and all the professors that I met so far.
Right.
I'm thankful that I have to be like in such an environment where I can really learn and grow. And I guess, as cliche as it sounds, just don't give up hope. Like, once you get into school, you're in. You might as well do everything you can to stay in and finish it out, instead of just thinking that, like, if it gets too hard, I'm just gonna quit. Like, I never really thought about that so hard until like after second term. So like, whatever pushes you to keep going forward, whatever you need to just get that kick, just to go, just find it and run with it, and you'll be fine.
100%.
Because you'll get through it. Everything is temporary, so you'll get through it eventually.
100%. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Wilson, for your time. This is Wilson Shek.
Thank you, Bakari.
Of DPT Talk, episode 19, and we are signing out. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.